We look forward to honoring, memorializing, and moreover, celebrating the lives of the astronauts who gave everything in the name of space exploration. And we're very pleased this morning to have lots of important people, if you will. You're all important people. But this morning I'm going to introduce you to Reverend Mary Sample from the First Presbyterian Church, and she's going to be doing our opening prayer. Mary?
Thank you, Barbara. Let us join together in prayer. O most gracious God, we give you thanks for the beauty of this day, for the way that you can clear clouds and make a way where there seems to be no way. We thank you this day for the privilege of coming here to honor, to remember, to celebrate people who have given their lives for our country. And we ask that as we celebrate here today, as we remember, that you might remind us of the many ways that you continue to honor our country, bless our nation, and bless us as a people. May what we do here bring you honor as we remember those whose sacrifices are great. We ask all these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Mary. It is my privilege this morning to introduce you to Titusville Mayor Jim Tully. He will be giving us our official welcome. Jim.
Well, good morning, and thank you so much for coming. You know, Titusville is the only city in Brevard County that physically abuts the Kennedy Space Center. And because of our proximity, we've always felt a special closeness to the space program. But the closeness we feel is not just physical, it's in our hearts also. And that's why we're always so touched when bad things happen. And we feel fortunate that we are able to come together and recognize those who have given their last full measure. So we thank you all for being here. I'm not going to take up any more time, keep the program going, but this is an event that we feel very privileged to hold every year. Thank you, Barbara.
May I ask you to introduce the dignitaries for me this morning, please,
Well,
sir.
I'll introduce the ones that I can see. Certainly, our guest speaker today is Senator Thad Altman. And as I just mentioned, the entire City Council is here, and we do that because we all feel the recognition that this event is very important. Vice Mayor Martha Long, Councilmember Walt Johnson, Rita Pritchett, and Kathleen Burson. And our city manager, Mark Ryan, is also here over in the back. And if I've missed anybody, Barbara will find the rest. But thank you again for coming. This is an important day.
One person I would like to introduce for sure as a wonderful and great friend to the Flag and Memorial Committee for the City of Titusville, and that's former launch director Bob Seek. Bob, when I asked Bob for assistance in putting the program together, he steps up with a smile on his face and is always there to help us out. And you are a great friend to us, and we greatly appreciate you, Bob. Thank you. Okay. If you will please stand. Color guard, post colors. Betsy Ross will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in singing the Star-Spangled Banner. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Thank you very much. You may be seated. It is now my privilege and honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Senator Thad Altman. Florida State Senator Thad Altman was born on September 8, 1955. 2 years later, his family moved to Florida, where he attended area schools and graduated from Brevard Community College with an Associates of Arts degree in 1975. He then attended the University of Houston and later completed his undergraduate studies with a Bachelor of Arts degree from Rollins College in 1987. In July of 2012, Senator Altman accepted the position of President and CEO of the Astronaut Memorial Foundation, located at the Kennedy Space Center. He holds this position while concurrently serving in the Florida State Senate. Community service is important to Senator Altman, as is evidenced by his participation in many volunteer organizations, including the Community Advisory Board at Rollins College, the Finance Committee for St. Mary's Catholic School, the American Red Cross, and the American Lung Association. Throughout almost 3 decades of service, the senator has been recognized and honored throughout the community with many awards. Senator Altman lives with his wife, Mary Pat, and their 3 children, Mackenzie, Hunter, and Sullivan, in Rockledge, Florida. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Senator Thad Altman.
Well, thank you for that kind introduction. Can everybody hear me okay? It is a great honor to be here. And I just stand in the midst of giants amongst us, because I'm humbled by the people that we have in this community that have flown in space, that have built and designed and operated the vehicles that have brought humans to space, and that are continuing the American quest to explore the final frontier. We live, we work, we've retired, we raise our children on hallowed ground. This is a very, very special place. I don't think it's a coincidence that God placed this location for the home of exploration of mankind. No coincidence that Ponce de Leon, when he landed here and discovered the great state of Florida, was right here in Brevard County. We are all about exploration. That is in our DNA. That's our spiritual quest. It's a part of our manifest destiny as a country that we move forward and we explore the universe. We know that space exploration is exceedingly difficult and exceedingly dangerous. I heard a speaker talk about one of the new and emerging commercial space programs. Was not an engineer, he was an attorney. Talked about, we're going to make space flight routine. It will never be routine. And it's important that we always remember that it's never routine. And that's why we come together at moments like this, to remember those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice. Those family members, wives, daughters, and sons who have given up their mothers, their fathers, in this great quest for human space exploration. And we are so blessed as a community to be a part of that. We are so blessed that that mission has been handed to us to remember, to support, to do whatever we can possibly do to keep the dream alive for those who have paid this ultimate and great sacrifice. That's what they want. That is what they want. If you could speak to each and every one of these astronauts, they would tell you the most important thing is that we keep flying. And what's even more moving is when you talk to the mothers, the fathers, the daughters, the sons, the wives, the husbands, they will tell you the same. Even though they have paid the ultimate sacrifice in losing loved ones, they will tell you, we must continue this great mission. You know, this is a tough week here on the Space Coast, where we have 3 of our major disasters happen within a 6-day period. This is my 5th memorial event that I've had this week. There's been a recurring theme, and that theme has been a renewed hope and vigor. I am seeing an emergence of human spaceflight in this community, in our country, and throughout the world. And I've heard a glimmer of optimism that I haven't heard in a very, very long time. And much of that is made possible by us coming together. And all of it's made possible by those who are willing to risk their lives. We stand at a time where we're seeing a brand new adventure in space. Just in the last few weeks, we finally got good news from Washington, where we had a robust NASA budget approved. The new Space Launch System approved, the Orion crew capsule vehicle, which is being built right here on the space coast, is fully funded, and Commercial Crew, a new adventure where we're seeing more of a commercial entry into the space program, was robustly funded. We're seeing many, many private companies that are building their own vehicles, and we're seeing thousands, tens of thousands of people putting their name down and making a deposit for a flight in space. Unprecedented. We're seeing 3 future vehicles that will carry Americans back into space, and companies throughout the world, and we here on the Space Coast, known as the premier launch place, we have an awesome responsibility. We as a community need to continue to rise up to support America's spaceflight program. Call our congressman, call our president, call our state, federal, local elected officials to encourage us to activate and continue the dream that these great Americans stood for. I see that in my role as the chairman of the Astronaut Memorial Foundation, or the CEO of the Astronaut Memorial Foundation, which is an incredible honor. Words cannot express to me what a great honor it is to be given the responsibility and being a part of remembering those astronauts and moving their dream forward. But I also, as my role in the state senator, where I chair the Space, Military Affairs, and Veterans Committee, there's no coincidence that in the legislature we combine the space and military affairs and veterans into one single theme, because space has a very, very important role in the national security of our country. And our preeminence in space will play a very, very important role in the preeminence as us as a country. And it was that day when the Apollo 1 fire, where our country was embarked upon a great space race, where we were working diligently to be the one to put a man on the moon and to show that and to prove that we had the preeminence as a country. And ultimately, that contributed to the eventful victory of the Cold War, and he, I think, played a key role in the Soviet Union's demise and abolishment, and now a country that we are partnering with in our space mission. But Apollo 1 led the way. We knew that we had never put a man on the moon, and the technological obstacles that we had to overcome, I think, played a key role in preparing that final mission to the moon. As well as Columbia and Challenger, those two disasters, the fact that we were able to come forward through that as a country and renew that vigor and get back to flight after the Columbia accident and after the Challenger accident demonstrates that our will as a country. And as I mentioned earlier, this week we've received such an incredible good news about our national space program. The same type of spirit, the same type of determination, and the renewal that we have as a country in the American spaceflight program is emerging now. These Americans that perished in space represented the absolute best of what we are as a country. One of the things that continues to impress me is just how human these astronauts were. First thing that stands out is how incredibly family-oriented they were. They loved their children, their wives, and their husbands. They were very, very much dedicated to family. Also, what impresses upon me, what great romance is this. The husbands and wives love their partners and were very committed to that wonderful relationship that was so, so important to them as family heads. They were Renaissance men and women. They were athletes, they were musicians, they were great academic, had great academic achievements. They were professors, they were doctors, they were fighter pilots. And we know that those that were sitting in the first two seats that were commanding and piloting the shuttles had many hours of flight time, and danger was not a stranger to them. They were there to protect their crew and to ensure the success of a mission. It was on their shoulders. But these individuals, these great Americans, it's important that we never forget them. It's important that we diligently work toward the mission that they stood for. They are true heroes. They are our true heroes. Again, it's a great honor to be here today. It's a great honor to be a part of this ceremony. And I look forward to working with you as a community as we take that next step forward in keeping the dream alive for these wonderful, wonderful American men and women.
What an honor, huh? I mean, thank you, Senator Altman, for being with us here today in Titusville, Florida. And your words bring home the spirit that we want to embody when we do the Astronaut Memorial, in that we've had years of the loss and we've had years of the sadness, and of course that's still going to be there. But let's celebrate their spirits. Let's celebrate. They chose to go and do these things, and through the keynote speakers throughout the years, I have heard if they knew that this was going to happen again in the future, they'd probably still do it. So that speaks a lot to the men and women who take their lives in their own hands in the name of space exploration for our country. Senator Altman, thank you again. Let's give him another round of applause. At this time, I would like to introduce the First Presbyterian Church Choir under the direction of Reverend Mary Sample. She's wearing many hats today. Sit back and enjoy "Oh Beautiful for Spacious Skies." Well, just by a show of hands, how many in the audience had a direct correlation in one way or the other through relatives or personal experience with working out at the Space Center? Let me see the show of hands. That's pert near everybody, okay? And the next person I'm going to introduce is this struck me, this young man's poem when he brought it to me at the close of last year's memorial, in that he is a regular guy who lives in Orlando, who really has no stake in the Space Center or space flight at all, but yet he was so touched by the loss of Columbia. It inspired from the very depths of his soul a beautiful poem. Now, the poem is entitled Columbia, but it could be Apollo 1, it could be Challenger, it's all interchangeable. And I would like for him to come up right now and read the poem for us. This is James Kelly Toops. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'd really like to thank my friends and my family for coming out today to see this, and for all of you to come out here for this incredibly important memorial service for all of the astronauts and the space test pilots that died seeking our quest for space. Again, like Miss McGillicuddy said, this is dedicated to all the astronauts, but the name of it is Columbia. And I'll start now. Like legends of old, so brave, so bold, they flew up on the flaming wings of their steed. In quest of glory, so songs and stories would be written of all their brave deeds. Sailing swift through space, awing human race, it all appeared as if done magically. Coming home through clouds, restless cheering crowds stood teary-eyed at Columbia's tragedy. Columbia is lost. 7 heroes the cost. Was it worth the price, it seems? Like legends of old, star brave, star bold, they gave their lives to gain their dreams. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Very nice. Okay, it is at this time I would like to, thank you, Candy. I'd like to invite Senator Altman and Mayor Tully to come forth and place our wreath at the base of the flag. Gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen. And now, in honor of Sharon Krista McCullough, we have 2 astronaut high school students who will be coming forth to lay on her bronze plaque an apple and a flower. This is Jessica Kohler and Nicholas DeBerry. In 1984, President Ronald Reagan announced the Teacher in Space project, and McCullough learned about NASA's efforts to find the first civilian, an educator, to fly into space. NASA wanted to find an ordinary person, a gifted teacher who could communicate with students while in orbit. McCullough became one of more than 11,000 applicants. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to be calling up representatives of the community to lay flowers on the various plaques and the names of the astronauts. And as we do this, our wonderful choir is going to ooh beautifully behind them. And the first is Virgil Ivan Grissom, otherwise known as Gus. The flowers will be presented this morning by Bob Castro and John Johnson of the Apollo 1 Memorial Foundation. Gus Grissom was born in Mitchell, Indiana on April 3rd, 1926, the second child of Dennis and Cecile King Grissom. His father was a signalman for the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad, and his mother a homemaker. His older sister died shortly before his birth, and he was followed by three younger siblings, Wilma, Norman, and Lowell. As a child, he attended the local Church of Christ, where he remained a long-time member and joined the Boy Scouts, Troop 46. Grissom met and befriended Betty Lavone Moore at school through their extracurricular activities, and he worked delivering newspapers for the Indiana Star in a local meat market as his first job. Edward H. White II. Flower will be presented by John Oster of the Apollo 1 Memorial Foundation. Mr. White was born in San Antonio, Texas, where he attended school and became a member of the Boy Scouts of America. White's father, Edward H. White Sr., became a major general in the United States Air Force. After graduation from high school, he was accepted to the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, where in 1952 he earned his Bachelor of Science degree and was commissioned a second lieutenant in the Air Force. Roger B. Chaffee. The flower will be laid by Navy League Barbara Rathborn. Roger Bruce Chaffee was born in Grand Rapids, Michigan, where he became an Eagle Scout. There's a theme here, and graduated from Central High School. Turning down a possible appointment to the United States Naval Academy at Annapolis, Chaffee accepted a Naval ROTC scholarship, and in September 1953 enrolled at the Illinois Institute of Technology. Francis Dick Scobie. Flower will be placed by Norm Rathborn of the Navy League. Mr. Scobie enlisted in the Air Force in 1957, where he served as a reciprocating engine mechanic at Kelly Air Force Base. While off duty, he attended San Antonio College and eventually received a Bachelor of Science in Aerospace Engineering from the University of Arizona in 1965. In the same year, he was awarded an officer's commission. Afterward, he attended flight school and earned his wings in 1966, serving as a combat aviator in the Vietnam War. Dr. Hackett, an engineer for Apollo and the shuttle missions, will place the flower on Michael J. John Smith. Michael Smith was born in Beaufort, North Carolina. He graduated from the United States Naval Academy in 1967 and subsequently attended the United States Naval Postgraduate School at Monterey, California. He completed a naval aviation jet training at Naval Air Station in Kingsville, Texas, receiving his aviator wings in 1969. The Michael J. Smith Airfield in his hometown of Beaufort, North Carolina, is named after Mr. Smith. Ronald Irvin McNair will be placed by Maria Wellbright of Drove 183. Mr. McNair, Ph.D., was born in Lake City, South Carolina. He was raised by his parents, Pearl and Carl McNair, and had two brothers, Carl and Eric. In the summer of 1959, He refused to leave the segregated Lake City Public Library without being able to check out his books. After the police and his mother were called, he was allowed to borrow the books from the library, which is now named for him. A child's book, Ron's Big Mission, offers a fictionalized account of this event. Ellison Onizuka. Mr. Onizuka will be represented by John Lau, Titusville Police Chief. Ellison Onizuka was the oldest son and second oldest child of the late Masamitsu and Mitsu Onizuka. He had two older sisters, Shirley and Norma, and a younger brother named Claude. Claude became the family spokesman when Ellison attained fame as an astronaut and continued after the Challenger accident. Growing up, Ellison was an active participant in 4-H and the Boy Scouts, where he reached the level of Eagle Scout. Judith Arlene Resnick. The flower will be presented by her friend Candy Seiberling, and she is being escorted today by Fred Brentzell. Judy Resnick was born in 1949 to Sarah and Marvin, an optometrist in Akron, Ohio. Both of her parents were Jewish immigrants from Ukraine. Judith's brother, Charles, was born 4 years later. She attended a Hebrew school. And graduate of Firestone High School in 1966, she excelled in mathematics, played classical piano. And while at Firestone, she achieved a perfect SAT score, the sole female to do so that year. Gregory Bruce Jarvis. Flower will be placed by Ron Irons of the Apollo 1 Memorial Foundation. Greg Jarvis graduated from Mohawk Central High School in Mohawk, New York in 1962. He received a BS in electrical engineering from the State University of New York at Buffalo in 1967. Jarvis joined the United States Air Force the same year and served until 1973, where he was honorably discharged as captain. The East Engineering Building on the University of Buffalo SUNY North Campus was renamed Jarvis Hall after Greg Jarvis's death. We'll move on to Columbia now. Rick Douglas Husband, Norm Murphy of the Apollo and the Shuttle Foundations will be placing the flower. Rick Husband is a U.S. Army Force colonel, and his childhood dream was to grow up to be an astronaut. The Amarillo, Texas native was born in 1957. Growing up in West Texas, he developed an interest in flying. He says, "I'd be out in my backyard playing," he said in a pre-flight crew interview, "and any time I heard any kind of airplane, it's like, stop, what are you doing? Take a look and see. Where's that airplane? What kind is it? Where is it going? How high is it? How fast is it going?" There's no doubt in my mind that when I grow up, I want to be an astronaut. Okay, at this time we are going to have a moment of silence. Moment of silence. At 11:38 a.m. on February 1st, 2003, Columbia was lost. We always stop our program to have a moment of silence to honor them. The flyover was provided by the Valiant Air Command Flight Support. Okay, let's continue. Next person is William Cameron, Willie McCool, who was born September 23rd, 1961. Before U.S. Navy Commander Willie McCool began his 16-day scientific mission, he explained what was most important about the work he would be doing in space. Most of what we're doing is enabling technology for the future, he said, and the folks who are going to use that technology and then continue the wheels turning are the children today. There's no greater experience, at least in my career thus far, than to see the excitement and the eyes light up when you talk to kids about experiments. And now, famous quote by Willie McCool. From our orbital vantage point, we observe Earth without borders, full of peace, beauty, and magnificence. We pray that humanity as a whole can imagine a borderless world as we see it and strive to live as one in peace. Oh, the flower was presented by Tim Gagnon. My apologies there. Michael P. Anderson. The flower will be represented by Louise Robertson of the Daughters of the American Revolution. Michael Anderson always wanted to fly planes and rose to the rank of lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. President George W. Bush said, along the way, he became a role model, especially for his 2 daughters and for the many children who spoke in schools. He said to them, whatever you want to be in life, you are training for it now. David McDowell Brown will be represented by Bob Zeke, former NASA launch director. United States Navy Captain David Brown was born April 16, 1956 in Arlington, Virginia. I was a little bit late for Mercury, he said, but I remember Gemini and Apollo quite well in the 60s, and then Skylab, an early shuttle, he said in a pre-flight interview. But I absolutely couldn't identify with the people who were astronauts. I thought they were movie stars. And I just thought I was some normal kid. And so I couldn't see a path of how a normal kid could ever get to be one of those people that I just couldn't identify with. And so, while I would have said, hey, this is like the coolest thing you could possibly do, it really wasn't something I ever thought I would end up doing. Kalpana the flower will be presented by Tom Patton from the Flag and Memorial Committee. Kalpana Chawla's path to become an astronaut began in Karnal, India. None of our astronauts traveled a longer path to space than Kalpana Chawla, United States George W. Bush said. She left India as a student, but she would see the nation of her birth, all of it, from hundreds of miles above. Laurel Blair Salton Clark. Emily Carney, friend of the artist, be presenting flower. United States Navy Captain Laurel Salton Clark's path to becoming an astronaut evolved over time. I was interested in the moon landings just about the same as everyone else of my generation, she said, but I never really thought about being an astronaut or working in space myself. I was very interested in environment and ecosystems and animals. She said her parents were a huge influence on her life when she was a child. They always expected the best of all of us and expected us to do our very best. And last but certainly not least is Elin Ramon. This will be presented by multi-hat wearer, Mary Sample. When Israeli Air Force Colonel Elin Ramon was asked what it was like to be selected as the first Israeli astronaut, he said that he feels like he is a representative of his home country. I think it's very, very peculiar to be the first Israeli up in space, he said, especially because of my background. But my background is a kind of symbol for a lot of other Israelis' backgrounds. My mother is a Holocaust survivor. She was in Auschwitz. My father fought for the independence of Israel not so long ago. I was born in Israel, and I'm kind of the proof for them and for the whole Israeli people that whatever we fought for and we've been going through in the last century, or maybe in the last 2,000 years, is becoming true. Thank you, Presbyterian Church Choir. Okay, on the program is the Brevard County Police and Fire Fife and Drum. I did not see them come, so we are going to move on from that. Okay, Reverend Mary Sample, put your reverend hat back up, and if you would, please come and say a benediction for us.
Thank you, Barbara. Could we stand, please? God, we do thank you for this day and for these moments together, these moments of remembering. And we ask that as we remember, we might continue to dream, and we might continue to hold those who lead us in exploration in our prayers daily. And as we go from this place, may we all be reminded of your graceful touch upon our lives, no matter what our circumstances. Go in peace, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. The American Legion Post 1 will now play taps and have a 21-gun salute.